We're going to make something that's been popular in our family and in the restaurant Cynthia and I used to run in Kansas City called the Amber Waves Cafe. And this is what we called a Old English steamed fruitcake. Now, what we call steamed fruitcake in the US, they call steamed pudding in the UK. I think I have that right. So we're going to make an Old English steamed fruitcake. And eventually this is going to be steamed in a tin mold. If you don't have a tin mold that you can put your batter in and cover it and steam it, you can find these online, by the way. You can use just a round bowl. That works fine too. And I'll show you later when I put these in the steamer how you would use the round bowl in the steamer. But first we have to take a look at our ingredients. Our Old English steamed fruitcake contains dried fruits, and this one has about 2 cups of dried raisins, 2 cups of roasted chopped walnuts, 1 cup of currants. Now, if you don't have raisins, you don't have currants, you can substitute other kinds of dried fruit, maybe some chopped dates, maybe some chopped apricots. It's really up to you, but the raisins and the currants add a nice sweetness. So you want some kind of dried fruit that's going to add sweetness. And we're going to use some rice miso, but if you don't have rice miso, you can use red miso, you can use barley miso. I've never made this with white or yellow miso, so I don't know how that would turn out, but it's worth a try. You can add cloves. We're going to add cloves. This is about a half a teaspoon of cloves for this recipe. The miso is about 1/4 cup miso. The cinnamon is about 2 teaspoons. The barley malt syrup we're going to use, this is about 1/2 cup. If you can't find barley malt syrup, in the US, the most common and popular and high quality brand is made by Eden Foods. But if you can't find barley malt, you can substitute molasses, sorghum syrup if you have that available. Anyway, some kind of dark sweetener seems to work best. We're also going to use some organic apple juice. This is going to be about 1 cup, but as we go along and mixing these ingredients together, we may add a little more than 1 cup of apple juice. And also we have some whole wheat flour. This is about 1 cup whole wheat flour. Now, if you're looking for gluten-free substitutes, then just use your favorite bread replacement flour that you might use as gluten-free for making bread. You can substitute that for this whole wheat flour. And usually I use lemon extract. But this year I'm going to try with some orange zest instead of lemon extract, just for a different flavor. If you don't want to use extracts or lemon extract or orange, you can use a zest of lemon. That's fine. And now we're going to get a nice big bowl and mix all these things together. So now that we have all our ingredients set aside, We're going to start mixing them in a bowl. It's a pretty simple process. First, we're going to start with our raisins. We have 2 cups of raisins. Next, currants, 1 cup of currants. Next, the 2 cups of roasted, coarsely chopped walnuts. And next, our teaspoon of cinnamon. Actually, I'm adding a little more cinnamon. This is not 1 teaspoon, this is 2 teaspoons. The clove powder. And what else? Oh, I'm going to use orange zest this year. So I got my little microplane zester here. And I'm just going to take off the outside down to where you can see it's still yellow. I haven't grated it down to the white part underneath there because that's a little bit of a bitter taste. So you want to grate it just down to where it's this lightly orange. You've gotten off the main orange color. That's the most flavorful part of the zest of an orange or a lemon. So we're going to take that, and I think we're going to make about 1 teaspoon, level teaspoon of orange zest. You can add more or less, or you can add orange extract instead, or you can add lemon zest or lemon extract instead of orange, or you can leave them out completely. It's up to you. There we go. Add that from underneath. That's about as much of it that I'm going to add. Next is our miso. This is 1/4 cup of miso. You can use rice miso, red miso, or barley miso. And next, we're going to add our apple juice. No, let's add the barley malts next. We'll add that. Get everything mixed up first before we add the flour. Now, a way to mix all this together easily is to add your apple juice next. So let's start with a cup of apple juice first. That'll help everything mix. The miso will dissolve better. And there you go. Oh, it smells really good already. These are homemade raisins from our garden, from our own grapevine that Cynthia makes. She makes these every year, starting toward the middle to the end of July, when the grapes have ripened. And she takes the grapes off and dries them out on layers and baskets in the sun. And it doesn't take long. And then we have quite a few of them every year. So they will last us throughout the winter and way beyond till next year. We'll have plenty still this time next year from last year. So we mix it all up. And now I'm going to add the 1 cup of whole wheat flour, or if you want to add your favorite gluten-free bread flour substitute, you can add that here. Mix it up. You may discover that so it's kind of loose. So I'm going to add some more flour. I want it to be more like a batter than too loose like this. So I'm going to add some more whole wheat flour. Another cup, let's say. That should do it. Now this doesn't have any baking powder or baking soda or yeast or anything like that in it. It's a very old-fashioned kind of recipe. It's all vegan, and you can make it completely gluten-free by, again, substituting gluten-free flour, the kind that you would use to make any kind of bread or cookies or things like that should work. So you want it thicker like that. I wish you could smell it, because boy does that smell good. That orange zest in there really pops out. So I stir it up here. So now we're going to take this, put it into our tin molds or our little bowl, get it ready for steaming. Now that we've mixed all our ingredients in the bowl, we're going to put them in the steamer mold. And I showed you earlier, you can get these tin molds that have a little cover and little clasp on the side that holds it on, and it works out great. Or you can use a little bowl, and we'll cover it in a different way that I'll show you. So first let's try the tin mold. I like to use it because it's got this little part that comes up through the center. It's hollow in there from the top because that helps it cook better. See, the steam, as it's steaming, steam goes down inside there and it comes out here and helps this cook thoroughly. But not everybody has one of these. I've had this one for probably 30 years or more. We used to make these and sell them at our Amber Waves restaurant in Kansas City. And it was hard to keep up with the orders because they were pretty popular. So we oil the inside. Now, if you don't oil it, it's going to be really hard to get out later. Because, like I said previously, this doesn't have any kind of baking powder or baking soda, no leavening to cause it to pull away from the sides like it often does when you make a cake with those baking powder or baking soda. So now we're going to take our ingredients that we mixed together and we're going to spoon them into our mold here, and we'll see if you only want to bring it up to about you see in this mold it has this little line across here, this little, I don't know what to call it, ledge inside. That's how far I fill it up because it will expand somewhat while it's steaming. So you don't want to fill all the way to the top. And we just fill that up. And there'll be enough to make 2 of these, so we can put some in our bowl as well. Keep filling it. Press it down, but you don't need to smash it down real hard. Just press it down. Like so. And now wipe off some of this edge here where you've gotten some of it sticking here. Just wipe that off. And then in this case, with the covered tin mold, you just cover it. And now it's ready to steam. Now, if you're going to use a bowl instead of the steamer, you do it exactly the same way. You don't have the same center like the steam mold does, where the heat comes in and cooks it inside a little faster, a little better. But it will work fine. We've used these before, just bowls, and you just fill them. Now the bowl, if you use a little bowl like this, it may need to steam longer to get to the center of that and really steam it. So these are going to steam about 1.5 to 2 hours. So prepare to make them ahead of time. If you're going to steam your fruitcake in a metal bowl rather than in a tin mold, then after you've added the fruitcake batter here in the bowl, you'll see in this tin mold, it has a little metal part coming down through the center that makes a hole through the fruitcake so that the steam can come down in here while it's cooking and cook it better. So to mimic that with a bowl instead of the tin mold, once you have your fruitcake in here and you've kind of pushed it down a little bit so it's firm, then take the end of a spoon, or in this case I have a wooden pestle, and make a hole down the middle so that it mimics the hole that's going to be down the middle of the tinned mold fruitcake. That way, when you put the hole in the middle of this batter here in the metal bowl, the heat comes down inside here while it's steaming and allows the whole thing to cook better. If you just had it all pressed together into one big clump and not have this hole in here, it would still steam probably in the end if you steamed it long enough, but having this hole allows it to steam faster and cook more thoroughly. So that's what I suggest when you use a metal bowl. So now our fruitcake is ready to steam. I've got some hot water going here in the bottom of a steamer. I'm going to put in this glass steamer top. You can use whatever steamer you have or create a steamer. They're easy to make if you don't have a steamer like this. And what you want to do, if you're using the tin mold, you just put it down side. And now turn it on, heat, and let it steam high, medium high for about 2 hours. Remember, this has no leavening in it like baking powder or baking soda, so it needs to cook longer. If you're going to use the metal bowl with your fruitcake batter pressed down inside and little hole pressed in the middle here like I showed, in a previous clip and just put it down in there. But in this case, since it's not covered, it doesn't have a top to cover it there like the tin mold does, you see. So what we want to do is put a clean cloth right over the top of the steamer and then put your top over it and steam it that way. What this cloth does is it absorbs some of the moisture and prevents it from dripping too much down on top of the open fruit cake there. Now, you want to make sure that whatever cloth you use only comes over the top. It doesn't go down the sides like this. You don't want it to come down on the sides. Well, because if you do that, you see, it's going to drop way down and it's going to be close to your flame, your heat. You don't want it to catch on fire. So make sure that your cloth just covers the top area and doesn't fold down close to the heat source. Now it's ready to steam. So we're going to put this on the heat, bring it to a high steam, and steam it. Now that our fruit cakes have been steamed, this one in the tinned mold, this one in just a simple metal bowl, we can take them out see how they look. So we want to loosen them around the edge here, and then out it comes. So you see the mold makes a nice shape. And then out of the bowl, it also makes a nice shape. And now we're ready to display them. And you can cut them, you can serve them in small pieces, and we'll display them for a holiday buffet.